Hey guys, this is Miss Reed. As you can tell, I'm in my classroom. It's Friday the 13th, and also it is Friday full moon. So lots of fun. Just a couple things before I go over the IEP sample form with you. Please from now on, if you're going to email me, can you in your subject line please put your which class you're in, because I'm teaching too, and so it would be easier for me to understand or like remember which class you're in. It would make a little bit easier for me and quicker for me to respond. I'm going to be double checking grades and doing all that kind of stuff this weekend. So if you have not turned in an assignment, you will hear from me. Guys, the assignment I believe I had said was due Tuesday by like 11:59, so like Wednesday morning. I extended it September 11th just to kind of give a little bit of people some extra time. I know I've got one or two who have emailed me. You've got accommodations, all that kind of stuff. That's cool. That's awesome. But I have one or two who just didn't turn it in. That's not cool. You're going to get points deducted. Email me if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. This is really, really important. I'm going to go over with you. So please pay attention. All right, so we're going to talk about the IEP sample form. And I'm actually going to stop. I'm going to cut myself off just so you don't have to see me. Anyway, so here's our IEP. This is your school system. This is where your information is going to go for your IEP meeting date, name, eligibility, school, all that good stuff. These are your different team members that are in attendance. Typically, you want the parents there, obviously, unless they have a reason. Or if they are not living with parents, whoever is their custodial guardian at that time. So a lot of times, it just may depend on your family, on the kid's family situation. You have to have a special ed teacher there. That could be you. You also have to have a regular ed teacher there. And that needs to be someone who actually interacts with the child, not just some random person. And then the LEA is usually typically your principal or someone deemed at your school to serve as that role. And then agency representatives usually voc rehab if you have a student who's getting ready for transition, which is typically, at least with me, I usually do transition plans for students who are 14, who are in 8th grade about to go into high school, or 14 or older. It just depends on your own district. All right, so present level of academic achievement and functional performance. This is the results of the most recent evaluation, results of state and district assessments. If you are in Georgia, this is typically where you're going to have your Georgia milestones and other things. But this is where you want to share any kind of evaluation, especially if they've recently been can have eligibility. This would be a great opportunity to figure out where they are and how they best need to be served. The description of academic and development or functional strength. This is where you really get to tell how great the kid is, what the kid is good at, what he enjoys doing, just all of the positives here. All right, so description of academic to functional or developmental or functional needs. This is where you want to make sure you explain what the student is struggling with and what their weaknesses are. Now remember, anytime you have a weakness in this area, you need to have a goal for it. So you may not want to load it up fully with weaknesses, because then you're going to need to have several goals. So that just depends on your student and depends on how your SPED director wants you to do it. This is the opportunity for the parents to share any kind of information they have on their or any concerns that they have on their child's education in the classroom, how they're learning, anything at home, any new medical information that would go here. All right, so the impact of the disability on involvement and progress in the general ed curriculum. This is where we have to be able to explain why they need services. So, like, say, little Johnny has ADHD because of his inability to pay attention. He needs the support of a general ed teacher in the classroom. This would be, or he has an SLD, and he struggles with a reading comprehension, and therefore maybe he needs small group to remediate and to learn new ways to understand reading material. This is where this would go. All right, so consideration of special factors. This is for students who every student has to be filled out, and all of these have to be filled out. Does the student have behavior which impedes his or her learning or the learning of others? This is when you would have a behavior intervention plan, and typically if you have a kid who is in GNET, this would be checked yes. Does the child have limited English proficiency? If a child also is considered to be ESOL, you would click yes, but if they're not, then you would say no. And they can be double served. If you have a student who has blind or visual impairment, like if they have to have certain accommodations because of their vision, you'd hit yes. The student has communication needs. This would also be the student requires speech. You would hit yes or check yes. Is the student deaf or hard hearing? This is if they need hearing services or if they wear hearing aids or any type of that to enhance their learning. That would be a yes. And then any assistive devices or services. This can go one of two ways. You can say yes, and assistive technology to me is anything that can help a student. So that can be a pencil grip all the way to having something read to you. But now when you're actually in IEP Go, which is the program Georgia uses, a lot of districts use, it goes into more specifics. So it just depends on what your district wants you to do. All right, and then does the student require alternate format for instructional materials? That can typically be Braille, large type, auditory, or electronic text, and that's where you would do here. Transition service plan, we talked a little bit about earlier. And this is really the purpose of this is to be able to help the students figure out what they're going to do post high school, post life. All right, so the measurable annual goals. This is where you're going to have academic or functional goals designed to meet for the student. So this would be like if you know a student is struggling in math, given 3 times, Johnny will perform or answer 3 out of 4 questions with 80% accuracy. That would be a goal, or 75% accuracy. You typically want to have a goal higher than that, but that's where this is the criteria for mastery, the method of evaluation, and then when you progress, monitor. And so you continue to go. And typically, you want to make sure that the parents are progress. However, whenever your school system does progress reports, ours is for every 4.5 weeks, or so that's when they get their progress reports. This is the same thing. It's just another page of it here. So this would be the actual benchmark. So if you had like here would be your goal, and this would be your different benchmarks instead of you just having one big goal. So any kind of supports that the student has, instructional, being able to have teacher proximity, being set in the front of the room, any of those type of goals and accommodations, that's where that would be. Classroom testing accommodations, having the questions and answers read aloud. To have the paragraph read in a Georgia milestone, you have to have proof that the student is not able to read and that they or that they struggle with reading very, very badly. And that's where that would go for testing accommodations. Supplemental aids and services, this would typically be if they need a fidget spinner or any of those kind of extra things just to help them continue with class. And then services, typically a paraprofessional or any of that. And then supports for school personnel. This is especially if a student is in GNETs and possibly might, you might need some training for nursing or not nursing, but, you might need training for like if the student suffers from seizures or any of that kind of stuff. That would go there. All right, and then assessment determination. This would be the testing accommodation. So this would be for your milestones. And so we would have timing, scheduling, presentation, and response. And this would typically be standard. Conditional would be when a student has something read to them, like the paragraph for a test. And then a student will participate in the GAA if they are not able to take the milestones, but those are students that are typically in the self-contained classrooms, and that's a whole nother situation. And then this is where you would have services. You would do consultative, collaborative, co-teaching, supportive services, or related services. Related services typically are OT or PT. And then supportive services can be paraprofessionals. And then speech can also be consultative, collaborative, co-teaching, or this is all inside the classroom. Typically, you would either be collaborative or co-teaching with another gen ed teacher as a SPED teacher, or vice versa. And then to have a service outside the classroom, such as a resource setting or for speech, it would go here. And typically, you want to do the LEA, the least or LRE, excuse me, the least restrictive environment. And this would be the opportunity for you to guys to, as a team, to meet this. And then if a student is ill in here, you have to explain why. And this is where you would do it. Extended school year, if a student you think is going to fail 2 or below grades behind, depending on your district, this is where you would discuss the need for summer school. And then this is where all the services would go, who's going to do it and where. And then the documentation of the IEP meeting. And then this is parent participation. And then if a parent did not participate, what was happened with the documents, or if they did not attend the meeting. All right, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know. I will probably in the next day or so actually post an IEP I've done and explain it a little more in depth. But just let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.